Space. The final frontier. The endless expanse of the unknown. A sea of black emptiness only lit by the faint ghost light of stars. As far as we know, we are alone in the ever-expanding sea of infinity. Some say what we know and the facts as we understand them are more existentially terrifying than anything else we could possibly understand. And some say, maybe it's better if some things are left unknown, lest we lose our minds at the horrible truths we may find. This is the core of cosmic horror, and the godfather of cosmic horror, H.P. Lovecraft, understood just how terrifying the unknown truly is. The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown. This core ideal was weaved into each and every one of H.P. Lovecraft's stories. The Dunwich Horror, The Call of Cthulhu, At the Mountains of Madness, Dagon. All of them featuring eldritch abominations so far beyond what we are capable of understanding that we can't understand them, and thus we lose our minds. One such story by Lovecraft, The Color Out of Space, was adapted into a full-length movie in 2019. The first time I watched it, I was actually pretty terrified and also captured by its allure. It's also one of my personal favorite Lovecraftian tales, and in preparation for this video, I went ahead and reread the original story. Before we go any further, obvious spoiler warning for The Color Out of Space. If you plan to watch this movie, watch this video after the fact. If you plan to watch this movie yourself, I highly recommend doing it under the cover of night in a dark room for some genuinely tense horror. But for those of you who might have already seen the movie or maybe don't have any plans of watching it, let us do a little rundown of the plot, followed by a little bit of a comparison to the original story, and of course the final review and takeaway. And this is your final spoiler warning. If you haven't seen the movie, spoiler warning, right here in front of my face, big spoiler warning. The movie opens with our protagonist reciting some of the opening sentences from the actual original story Color Out of Space, which I really appreciated. And this is our protagonist, by the way, Ward Phillips. For anybody who doesn't know, the HP in H.P. Lovecraft stands for Howard Phillips, so Ward Phillips. It's a nice little nod to the author. He's also wearing a t-shirt that says Miskatonic University, which is a recurring location / institution in the Lovecraft mythos, which I also really appreciated, and it's also mentioned a few times in the movie in passing. We're also introduced to the Gardner family, the same family as in the original story. But their first names are different, and there was no daughter in the original Gardner family in the original story. We have Lavinia Gardner, her brothers Jack and Benny, and their parents Teresa and Nathan Gardner. Nathan Gardner being played by the dearly treasured Nicolas Cage. The Gardner family lives on a farm with the typical modern family dynamic of an odd farmhouse. We got the dedicated workman in Nathan Gardner, who also milks alpacas? The space and science and stoner brother in the form of Benny, the typical I want out of here daughter in Lavinia, who's also interested in magic and Wiccan rituals, and the overworked wife and mother Teresa. And of course the naive little brother in Jack. Ward comes across Lavinia in the forest, who's trying to do a ritual to hopefully get rid of the cancer in her mother's body. Very, very nice. Ward introduces himself as a hydrologist who's doing surveys for the upcoming construction of the reservoir in this area. But Lavinia is quick to escape his presence, albeit with a little bit of intrigue, and rides away on her horse. She rides back home to the usual family feuds, the usual family dinner, and a normal night's rest, as normal. Until, of course, this happens. A glowing meteorite crashes in their front yard. Also, very nice looking visual on the meteorite. The visuals in this music, just to say it now, are like pure eye candy, both in the horrific and chromatic departments. The Gardner family immediately rushes out to investigate, and Nathan has an immediate reaction to it, claiming that it smells horrible as he struggles to breathe. The others don't seem to smell whatever Nathan is smelling, but poor little Jack is also having a bit of a reaction to the meteorite's arrival. As they go back inside, Jack is in some sort of trance, not saying or responding to anything anyone is saying to him until he claims that his head is hurting. The following day, Jack is still staring out the window intently at where the meteorite landed as the sheriff, mayor, and Ward come to investigate the meteorite as well. Overnight, the meteor got significantly smaller as well as losing its glow, but it's still hot and smoking. Lavinia seems very allured by the presence of the meteorite, and she's very excited about it since she is a believer of the mythical and that which lay beyond. Ward inquires if there's anyone else living on the property, and Nathan directs him to Ezra, a squatter who's just kinda keeps to himself and is a little bit special in the brain area. A storm starts gathering as they're heading out there, and somehow, Ezra already knows who Ward is, claiming that,
A lot of little birdies flitting around here in this ecosphere. You just gotta know how to decode them.
okay, either he's a stalker or he's some kind of genius spy master. Ward notices that there's a lot of buildup of material in the water and makes the smart move of not drinking it, as well as taking a sample back to his tent to do some tests. A few hours later into the night, the storm severely worsens as hazy purple lightning continuously strikes the spot where the meteorite had landed. Lavinia is utterly entranced by this phenomenon and tells her father that
It's drawing the lightning.
Ward runs his tests on the water and, yeah, I don't think it's supposed to look like that. Red is bad enough, but cosmic purple? Bad sign. As he's sitting outside, all his electrical equipment starts going haywire, and he catches slight glimpses of the color's vapors in the woods. The next morning, yes, I know, there's a lot of time jumping, but the original story was like that too. Actually, the original story had even more time jumping than this. The next morning, the meteorite is just flat out gone, sunk into a hole in the ground, and Nathan notices some strange chromatic plants growing by the well. Then the press arrives to do some interviews, and later that night, Nathan is just utterly embarrassed at his TV performance. And as Nathan is continually shouting at the screen, Teresa is just in the kitchen, cooking, not really paying attention to anything. And she's paying so little attention that she doesn't notice an egg she cracked open has a bunch of blood in it. She zones out so much that as her little son Jack comes to check on her, she cuts 2 of her fingers off while cutting vegetables, and the blood splatters all over Jack's poor little face. So poor Nick Cage, his life falling apart around him, scrambles to get his wife to the hospital and leaves his son Benny in charge. Not without some teasing from his sister first, of course. The next morning, Benny feeds the alpacas and, I guess he didn't? Well, that's a bit odd. Benny feeds them again as he exchanges some insults with his sister as Jack is sitting in front of the well just staring at it hypnotically. Lavinia checks on him and asks how he's doing as he's whistling at the well, and Jack replies,
What are you doing?
Shh. It's talking to me.
Who's talking to you?
A man in the well.
Nope, man in the well? Hell nah. Hell the f nah. Lavinia starts to feel a little sick and rushes inside as she hears this horrible ringing noise in her ears. She also gets a call from her dad, but she can barely understand him, nor can Nathan hear her on the other end. Out by the well, Jack decides to finally approach it, and he looks down into the deep dark well. And we see a mantis-type creature hatch from something at the bottom. Also, the POV shots of the creature are pretty cool. 11:20 a.m., time to wash the bloody knife. Random burst of light, now it's 5:45 p.m. Makes just about as much sense as my videos. Blood sink, sanity sinks, Lavinia's lunch comes back for revenge. And then Ward shows up. He comes to warn her about the water, but Lavinia didn't hear him the first time, and I don't think she understood him the second time he repeated himself either before running off to vomit again. As Ward goes to check on Jack on his way out, we notice more of the strange chromatic and colored growth appearing in the yard. Ward heads back over to Ezra's place, and this squatter is,
Up is down, fast is slow. What's in here is out there. And what's out there is in here now.
a little far gone. Just a little bit. Claiming that he can hear people and aliens under the floor. Ward, as a man of science, does notice that the audio coming through Ezra's headset is a little strange, but it's more likely to just be some geothermal activity than, you know, aliens. Too bad we're all aware this is a Lovecraft story. Nathan and Teresa are coming back home from the hospital, and the operation to reattach her fingers was a success. And on their drive back, they see some crazy feline-like creature with some absolutely wild eyes in the road. It freaks them the hell out, and they try to call the kids, but back at the house, poor Sam, this is Sam, by the way, he's a good boy. Sam goes out to check on little Jack by the well. Sam feels threatened as the color flares up and runs out there to protect Jack like a brave boy. Lavinia has a bit of an episode as she noticed Benny's computer was acting funny. When it shuts off, Benny comes in and says that he thought he heard Sam and was worried about him. He also mentions that,
Look, I know it sounds weird, but I kind of got lost out there. You know, like 1 second it was daytime and then all of a sudden it was so dark I couldn't even find the house.
I don't think that's how things are supposed to work. at all. The call their parents made finally gets through to them at the house, but it's utterly intelligible. Then the two siblings finally realize that Jack is outside and they go bolting for him, but their parents are already home on the scene. With missing context as to why Jack was still out there, Nathan, of course, starts flipping out on his elder children. But for the first time ever, Lavinia and Benny are on the same page and are actually defending each other. And the alpacas are out again. Great. Benny asks Lavinia if they should warn their dad, and Lavinia gives the perfectly valid response of,
I mean, should we, like, try to warn him?
Warn him about what?
I mean, yeah, what is there to warn about? Like, obviously something isn't right, but they have no idea what it is and can't name it. Only experience it. They're completely and entirely powerless in this scenario. The siblings try to warn their father about whatever's causing all this, but he's in stark denial about all of it and just storms off. Lavinia asks Benny if he still has that long-distance girlfriend he met, and when Benny asks why, Lavinia gives the correct answer of, because we gotta get the hell out of here. Boom! Officially one of the smartest horror movie protagonists. Just bail when shit goes sideways. It's not that hard. As Nathan goes to shower, he notices a growth in the shower drain, and as he picks it up, it latches onto him before he rapidly gets it off. He then goes back to his wife and son and flips out some more, and when he finally calms down, he's just like, it'll be fine. Nothing's wrong. It's all good. The next day, or potentially a few days later, the crops are ready for harvest. Early, and the color has also grown into even more foliage and is now even infecting mushrooms. As Teresa is trying to work, her electrical stuff is not working and she comes raging down at Nathan to get the satellite dish working. He says it's fine and that it should be working as he takes a nice big bite of his juicy tomato. And turns out they're all bitter and disgusting. The two then proceed to have a one-sided argument with each other. They don't even acknowledge what the other is actually saying. Nathan goes to have a drink, you know, to cope. And as he does, he examines his really, really itchy arms. And if you ask me, they kind of look like the grayscale disease from Game of Thrones. Here's a picture of that if you don't know what that is. Looks pretty similar, huh? Later that night, Jack once again wakes up and heads for the well, and as Lavinia is packing to get the hell out of Dodge, she picks up her copy of the Necronomicon. I've actually owned and read that exact book. It's not bad. Instead of bolting out the door immediately without any hesitation, she instead decides to stay and tries another ritual that involves some, self-mutilation. Jack finds Benny outside, and they admire the unnatural landscape as it's been warped and twisted by the color. Then they hear some noises from the barn. Teresa wakes up to find no Jack and goes outside to find Benny and Jack investigating the barn. What they find is too gory to show, but basically all the alpacas have like melted together into one huge monstrosity. It's really disgusting stuff. The color visibly attacks and lashes out at Benny and Jack. The two run for it as they should, but Jack is too slow as he's got little child legs, and Teresa makes the mistake of running in to try and save him. The color latches onto them, and then they fuse together like the alpacas did. The makeup artists and the actor's performance of this abomination really sells the disgusting, unnatural body horror occurring here. I won't show it because I'm unsure of how YouTube systems will react to it, but you've gotta watch it for yourself. Even if you don't feel like watching the whole movie, definitely look up this scene. It's genuinely disturbing and the visuals are uncomfortably grotesque, and combined with the sound design for this creature, it's some real nasty stuff. The next morning, we get the patented Nick Cage rage as the car refuses to start, meaning the remaining gardeners are stuck with what's left of Teresa and Jack, and the increasingly warped chromatic landscape. So they bring Teresa and Jack into the attic until they can figure out what to do with them. Nathan goes outside with his shotgun and shoots all the mutated alpaca heads. Then it's implied that he plans to shoot Teresa and Jack, which is quite frankly the humane thing to do. But yeah, Nathan doesn't do that. Over what I assume is Town Hall, or potentially the outside of the Miskatonic University, the sheriff and his deputies show Ward a bunch of melted and mutated animal carcasses all melted together just like the alpacas. Except these ones are like dead. They're not alive, they're dead. Later that night, or perhaps in the exact same moment, Benny and Lavinia get ready to saddle up on Comet, the horse from earlier. But the color got to the horse too, and it runs off. Next up on the color's hit list is Benny, using the cries of Good Boy boy Sam to lure him into the well and get consumed. Nathan then comes outside, flipping out at Lavinia as she drags her into the attic with, that thing we don't talk about. You know, the thing that's in there that we don't talk about? We don't talk about that. Luckily, the cavalry is on its way in the form of Ward and the sheriff. When they arrive, Ward asks where Nathan's wife is, and he points to an empty living room. Yep, the color has gotten him too. They hear a scream from upstairs and go rushing up to find the warped remains of Teresa and Jack. As Ward and the sheriff freeze in horror, they're interrupted by a gunshot of Nathan shooting his wife's head.
They're not my family.
Sorry, his not wife and not son's head. And their blood is full of, you guessed it, the color. Ward carries Lavinia outside, but as they all see the color lashing and thrashing out of the well, Nathan goes to shoot at it, and in turn, Ward and Lavinia. So the sheriff shoots Nathan, and Lavinia drops to her father's side. She declares that she's not leaving, and that she lives here. Ward can't really do anything more and goes with the sheriff to Ezra's cabin. There they find Ezra basically dead, physically anyway. Somehow he's talking and communicating through his electronic equipment. And he says the same last words as one of the characters in the original story, Nahum Gardner. And the distortions in Ezra's voice are some top-tier freaky stuff as his lifeless body just sits there unmoving. The color starts flaring up violently, and the sheriff is eaten by one of the infected trees. Ward, alone, picks up the shotgun and checks on Lavinia. As she's standing there in front of the well, she turns around to Ward, and when she turns around, the color is fully visible in her eyes, and Ward gets glimpses of the places the color has been and where it came from. Ward fearfully disconnects his hand from her shoulder and falls over as the color erupts out of the well and back into the sky. Lavinia disintegrates and all life starts disintegrating around him. Ward makes a break for the house as time and matter warp and distort and get all weird around him, and he gets in a short altercation with Nathan, who is now being animated by the color. Ward just barely scratches his way to the basement, and in an instant, it all ends. Ward climbs out from the basement, and everything as far as the eye can see is just gray dust. And the film ends with the reservoir being built and Ward declaring that he'll never drink from it.
It was just a color out of space.
Name of the movie! Roll the credits. Yeah, pretty goddamn bizarre, isn't it? Well, I'm pleased to tell you that the original short story by Lovecraft isn't any less bizarre. This movie is actually relatively faithful to the original story, although there are some minor differences in which, in my opinion anyway, aren't a reduction or hamper Lovecraft's original vision. Some characters in the short story have their roles split into multiple characters in the movie. In the short story, Old Man Amy tells the unnamed hydrologist the tale of the strange days, and we hear things from his perspective. In the movie, the hydrologist, Ward, actually lives through the events. This movie also takes place in a much more modern era, where the original story took place in like the 1870s or 80s, I think. The poisoned water was also something that was mentioned and used as a plot device in the original story as well, and I'm a fan of how the movie uses the infected water. You know, just little things like Ward testing the water, or him telling don't drink the water, or like little shots of people putting water glasses down. Like, I like that stuff. Also, if you're asking yourself how Ward possibly survived in that basement at the end, I think I can actually answer that. In the original story, Old Man Amy was around 40 years old when the events of the color's infection were taking place. Like Ward, he got help from the cops and went to the Gardner house. When the color started sucking the life out of everything and going into the sky, it fed on all life in the surrounding area, especially sentient life with overactive imaginations or emotional weaknesses. Old Man Amy mentions in the story how those who are strong of mind and science weren't mentally affected or infected by the color. Ward, being a hydrologist, emotionally stable, and a very grounded person, had the perfect conditions for surviving this catastrophe. Like I said, I enjoy how the film uses a lot of elements of the original story like that. It's not a one-to-one adaptation, but it does use a lot of the same elements, story beats, and executes the way the color warps things quite well in my opinion. I've seen a lot of people not really like this movie, and a lot of them aren't even aware of the original Lovecraft short story as far as I can tell, but there were some hardcore Lovecraftian fans out there who weren't huge fans, and I understand why. Adapting cosmic horror to the big screen is pretty damn difficult. Capturing that pure fear, that pure sense of fear of the unknown and trying to convey it in an effective way is not easy, especially when the unknown are godlike space aliens. If you're an average enjoyer of Lovecraft's work, I think you'll enjoy this movie and appreciate the little homages and whatnot. And now, let us do the final review. The Color Out of Space is a 2019 cosmic horror film starring Nicolas Cage. The Color Out of Space is based on a short story of the same name written by H.P. Lovecraft in 1927. The performances of the actors are more than passable, with some of the most notable performances coming from, of course, Nicolas Cage, Madeleine Arthur, Jolie Richardson, and Brendan Meyer. The way each character reacts differently to the appearance of the color and the way each actor conveys these reactions is one of the highlights of the film. Being a horror film, the best elements of the horror don't come in the form of the monsters or gore, but rather the psychological decay and mental breaking points of each of our characters. But in regard to the grotesque body horror of the monsters, they were more than disturbing and certainly gave me chills and a sense of discomfort. With very good visuals, little Easter eggs and details that only Lovecraft readers will get, some good acting, and the patented Cage Rage moment, I give The Color Out of Space 2019 a 3 out of 5. And because of my personal bias and love for Lovecraftian tales, I recommend watching this movie. Thank you so much for watching. The script turned out to be a little bit longer than I had hoped, but honestly, I think it's for the best. This video was originally planned to come out the same day I went to see Tron Ares, but then that Invincible teaser came out, and I was like, crap, I gotta talk about that now. So by now, you've already seen my Tron Ares review, and if you haven't, be sure to check it out. There's also another movie I'd like to talk about during Spooky Month, another horror movie, so buckle up for a couple more reviews and breakdowns this month. If you're looking forward to all of those and you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the like and sub button. I would greatly appreciate it. Also, if you really like the way we do things around here and you want to show me a little bit of extra support, then definitely consider becoming a channel member. Not only do you get access to a whole bunch of exclusive rewards, but you also directly support me in the process and help keep this channel running. But that is going to do it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and yeah, have a good day, everyone.